We're exploring modulation of color with this Series 19 and using this photo of yellow crocuses. With this lesson and the previous lesson, we're exploring modulating yellows. In this lesson, we're going to hone in on these two tools, the repetition of hue and intensity, and the contrast of hue and intensity. Now, I've got here also the Gamlen Ultramarine Blue. The reason I don't use it to create that green is that ultramarine blue does have a tendency to lean towards violet. Violet is a complement of yellow, and so it would kind of dull it as well as turn it green. So that's the reason I'm choosing this color instead of this one for creating that green. Now that was high intensity. Now I said we're going to be contrasting hue. I said we're going to be repeating hue, and I said we're going to be contrasting intensity and repeating intensity. Those are the tools we're working with. Now, as I've said so many times before, the object here is not to do an exact copy of anything we do, but we're doing an interpretation. And so when we're doing that interpretation, we decide what to leave out, what to emphasize, what to use, what to subdue. Those are the decisions we make. And so I want to use that little edge that I see there, that little edge that begins to get a little darker, a little bit more of a shadow with that little bend in there. Now, I get the brush really loaded with that wonderful, bright, brilliant yellow-green. And what I'm going to do here is make kind of an abstract stroke where I move the brush in the direction I see the light moving in, like that, and then move it in the opposite direction with another stroke. I'm going back to the floppy brush here, and I want to load it because it is a much better brush for laying in a scumble. And so I do want this light right here, and I do want to do this, and I want this to be a little bit like that, and a little bit of that light right in here, just like that. And then we will go back to the filbert and sort of give that a little bit of a blend here and here, and then here and here, and then here and here. That gives that a little bit more presence there. You need a little variation in value there. We may get it, it may not. And we have some sticking out in here. We need some little green pieces, little light green pieces coming up out of the top. We lost those two, so let's just get them. And I think maybe here I may just use the palette knife like that. We were starting, of course, with the study from Lesson 3, where we were learning to modulate color. And Lesson 3 was just that. It was just using the principle of modulation of the color yellow, which is most difficult, as we know, to work with. In this lesson, we were using some specific methods or tools, you might say, for controlling the modulation. And the whole reason for controlling the modulation to begin with was to reduce the vibrancy while keeping the brilliance of these yellow crocuses.